Hey everybody, this is So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the show. It's summer movie season really is here, and that's kind of what we're focusing on in a way. We just recently did a review of The Fall Guy to kind of kick off the movie season. You can listen to that at SoManySequels.com or on our YouTube channel, So Many Sequels. Check it out there. And this week, we're going to talk about Mad Max Fury Road. We're going to talk about that later in the week before, as a prequel to Furiosa, which comes out later this month. Yeah, so if you're on the podcast, stick around for that. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you get that video when it drops. But let's get down to the real business here, which is what we've been watching not for this show. Because oftentimes that can lead to some really fun places. You know, we don't have an idea of what we're watching in any given week, but then sometimes things happen. I know for a fact that David and I went on a separate and different, but sometimes crossing paths, Planet of the Apes journey.
We did.
And I know that, Garrett, you went on a John Cena journey. You can't see me. But I want to talk about Planet of the Apes first real quick.
Okay.
Because I think it'll cover a handful of movies. So I went to see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes last weekend, which is the latest in the reboot trilogy, I guess you could call it, although this is a new trilogy in that sense. This one takes place many generations after the events of the reboot trilogy. No spoiler. This is the basic premise. And so it's kind of picking up there and how things have gone along after all this time has passed. So I was kind of iffy on this going into it because I really like the three Dawn of, Rise of, War of, Planet of the Apes movies. And so I thought, I don't know, why would you mess with it by doing more of them when those three were actually pretty good, and I think they were generally considered good. But I don't know, it was actually okay. I thought it was a good new entry. It wasn't quite to it didn't quite reach the heights of those three, I don't think, but it was far from being terrible. And I think it opens up to a new, interesting direction that it can go in. So I'm excited for more Apes. They've surprised me again.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, if it's if it's a start to its own sort of series, you know, then as long as it's kind of like as good as Rise, because on my journey through this, because I kind of wanted to watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, so I was like, well, let me check out the first ones. Like Rise of Planet of the Apes is a pretty good movie, but it's obviously not the best of the three, right? So if this is kind of like that, if it's like, okay, this is a solid start, we've got a nice foundation, now you can really, like, you know, go all out with your next two, now that you kind of have your new established characters, you have your new sort of like burgeoning plot that you can kind of work with. You know, we've set the scene really well, and like, you know, if it contains itself well enough, that's good, because that's kind of what Rise was. I had kind of ignored this franchise for a long time. I saw the first Planet of the Apes probably when I was like 10 or 12, probably on Sci-Fi Channel, back when Sci-Fi Channel was spelled like sci-fi. I don't even know if it's still around. And so it was probably all chopped up, and so there's a whole bunch of stuff I hadn't seen before. So I came back to this, and I was really interested. I was really good. Like, the first one is like, it's a solid movie. It really, I've seen the comparisons that it's like a more violent, Curious George movie, but it is it really, I think, it does a great job, having now gone back and watched the original Planet of the Apes again. It does a great job of referencing the original Planet of the Apes in good and subtle ways, as opposed to like really heavy-handed ways, like the Tim Burton movie that I think Josh you can talk about in a minute. But Rise is really good. Dawn really picks everything up, and then War. I really, really enjoyed War for Planet of the Apes. I know that a lot of people say they like Dawn more, but I really enjoyed that. It was to me, the real stars of this reboot franchise are the performances and the animation, because those two things marry together so well that like you end up like, there were times that I was just like, golly, I forgot that I'm not looking at real apes for a half second there. They really, for whatever reason, they managed to deceive me. Because the stories are pretty like straightforward. Like if this was a story about regular two groups of humans, it'd be less interesting. But Circus and some of the other actors that are doing these mocap characters do a fantastic job. So I mean, and it's Matt Reeves who did Cloverfield, which we reviewed, and did the Batman, which we've also reviewed. So it was good to go and see kind of this most recent, or one of the things that sort of pushed him up the Hollywood ladder.
Yeah, I did not go down that path because I saw those movies recently, but I did watch OG Planet of the Apes, which was wild, 1969, I think. Just a mess of a film. Right? Charlton Heston, who is just the biggest prick of all time in this movie. He is so mad the moment it begins and stays mad the whole movie. It's funny to watch.
The apes have taken over.
Well, yeah, but he's mad before he even knows that they're on a planet of apes.
The funny thing is, he's so anti-human himself to begin with, because he's like, well, first of all, I didn't realize, but frickin' Zap Brannigan from Futurama is just Charlton Heston in this movie, because he's like, will we return to Earth one day and find that man no longer attacks his neighbor, steals from his opponent, wages war? He's very anti-human humankind when he gets to the planet, right? And then he discovers Planet of Apes, and he's like, I don't know, he's not even like defending humans most of the time. He's kind of like, you're probably right, but he's got nowhere else to go, so he's just kind of stuck in the situation. But he's totally unhinged at times.
It's fun, but he sucks. It makes it one of the longest running science fiction franchises, which is cool. Film franchises since from 1969 all the way to today, they're still making them. But then I also made a pit stop in 2001 to revisit Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, starring Mark Wahlberg, Michael Clark Duncan, Paul Giamatti, Helena Bonham Carter. Pretty impressive cast. Really weird movie. Much different. Not good still. Actually, way worse, because a lot of that original one is forgiven for the time frame of, it's the 60s. Science fiction. It's very Twilight Zone, yeah. This one was just bad. It was just bad and weird. And there's like Paul Giamatti is an orangutan who like deals human children as pets. It's very strange.
I love it though. Paul Giamatti has no regrets about playing an orangutan. He was asked about it during one of those roundtables this last year that they do for the Academy, and they asked him if he was like, if that was something he looks back on it not so fondly, like the makeup. He goes, no. He's like, from the moment I saw Planet of the Apes when I was a kid, I wanted to be an ape. So he was all down for that. The interesting thing to me is that the 2001, I've kind of always heard it referred to as a remake, but it's not really at all a remake. It's the main character is a different person. The plot is very different.
No, it's a reboot for sure.
Yeah, they really thought it was going to launch its own new franchise.
I did not go down a Planet of the Apes route, but Catherine did. Catherine went down the planet. Yes, she did. She was in preparation for the new one too, and she found herself watching all of them as well. And I think she really enjoyed them, as from what I could tell. And I have seen them, but it's been so long that I don't remember much about them. So I might have to encourage myself to go down this journey as well, because I've never seen the one from the 60s, and we were also talking about the Tim Burton one, and I straight up just do not remember that whatsoever. I remember that it exists, but I think I never saw it, and that was a wise choice. But now I'm intrigued because it just sounds like a chaos train wreck. Sometimes those are fun.
It is a little bit wild. It's very 2001.
Yeah, I really didn't care for it.
The funny thing is, almost every one of the Planet of the Apes, at least the first movies, I think we can safely say, if you look at like 68 with Heston and 01 with Wahlberg, and you look at Rise, they are all very clearly from the exact time they came from, because you have 2011, I think, with Andy Serkis, and it's like all about this mocap technology and the CG and how far technology's come. And 01 is anyway. I also watched Beneath Planet of the Apes, which is the sequel to the 1968 version. And it is god awful. It is so bad. It is a step down in every possible respect. And it's one of those movies that like it gives sequels a bad name. But because so much of it is just a rehash of the first one, because Heston didn't want to come back, so they had to bring in a new human. And so like we had to spend like almost an hour catching that guy up to the last movie.
That's so dumb. So, just recast him. I don't understand why they play these
If you're gonna do the ultimate Apes watch, though, go ahead and do it. Because from what I hear, because one, it was also a totally unhinged weird movie, but the other three from that generation, Escape and Conquest and Battle or whatever, are actually fairly well looked upon. But I've been going down the Apes road for a little while now, this last week, and so I've been looking into all the lore and all the fun facts and things like that.
Well, let's go to a completely different subject, which is John Cena.
Yes.
Anyway, Ricky Stanicky, right?
Ricky Stanicky. I believe it is on Amazon Prime. I was just looking for something, right? And sometimes you just stumble on something. And this stars essentially John Cena and Zac Efron. And I was like, you know what? It's late. I don't really care. Give it a shot. And it started off stupid. And it ended off stupid. Yeah. But it was pretty consistent. It was consistently stupid. And you can't win when you deliver a 2-hour comedy like that. You know? You give me a tight hour and a half of that, and then fine. Yeah. I can handle a stupid comedy with John Cena being stupid and silly, and Zac Efron being stupid and silly. Have you boys seen this? Know about this at all? Josh, you tried to watch it.
I've seen some of the trailers.
Yeah, I did not finish. It was a DNF for me.
Is that because you found it awful, or because of any other reasons? Like you were just like,
I remember at the time I was just like, I am too bored to commit to this.
Had John Cena shown up by then?
Maybe. Okay. But I truly don't even remember.
So the general premise is...
I found it very forgettable at the beginning.
So there's 3 best friends, and they burn down a house on Halloween. And in order to prevent them from getting in trouble, they leave a jacket behind, and they label it Ricky Stanicky. And there's no Ricky Stanicky, it's just made up. And so he becomes the troublemaking friend that they use throughout their adult life to get out of things and do other things.
Like we do with Andrew Nichols.
He doesn't really exist. He's just a person we bring up sometimes. But they even as adults, like they're throwing a baby shower, and they use Ricky Stanicky as these married men who are about to have babies to get out of their own baby shower and go. I don't even remember where they went. They went to some techno concert.
Right.
And so, blah, blah, blah. They get found out, and they have to hire John Cena, who is an out-of-his-luck actor from Atlantic City, whose whole shtick is that his show is doing song parodies that can be innuendoed into masturbation. And so he's like singing Billy Idol, Rebel Yell or whatever, but like he's changed the words to make them raunchy, if you will. And that's the whole shtick of the movie. Is that they hire him to be Ricky Stanicky, and some laughs ensue sometimes.
Yeah, comedy's hard.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know if I've genuinely laughed like at a movie in a while. I mean, like at a movie that's labeled a comedy. Well, there's been several movies where I've gotten laughs, but
there's no reason for this movie to be 2 hours long in any way, shape, or form.
Overstated spoken.
Yes, I don't need the depth of character for these people. Give me the stupid, silly antics, and then just get to A to B. I don't care about these character growths. I'm supposed to believe that after years of lying and doing stuff without his wife, she just is like, I forgive you, and like, no, this man is a psychopath. All of them are.
I know. I do remember thinking from what I watched, I was like, wow, these guys are just bad people, and their wives and fiancés or whatever should leave them.
Now, having said that, it was stupid and funny in places. So, yeah, I mean, if you're into that, then like, go for it. I'm not here to knock on it. It was funny to see John Cena be funny.
He's
funny,
just funny. Stupid things.
Sometimes John Cena is just funny, and he is a helping factor of that movie.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Wow. Ricky Stanicky. Is it a recommend?
No, it was a 2-star movie too. Just a
two. Instant 2-star. Yeah. Okay.
And listen, I'm generous with my stars too. So if you get on the lower half of 2.5, it's not great.
Are you generous with your stars?
Come on, Amazon Prime.
Very.
I don't know if you are.
All right. Yeah, I don't know if they are either. Okay, well, switching up here again. Let's talk about some new stuff. There's a brand new Twisters trailer out. Where I think we're all hyped for Twisters here in Oklahoma, where this show is based.
And where this Twisters probably based too.
Where this Twisters is based. Garrett and I have a history of going back to the Twister Museum, which is in Waukita, Oklahoma. If you ever get the chance to go through there, it is very off the beaten path.
Yeah, go watch that on YouTube. Look for OK Connection Twister Movie Museum. It's a great episode. It's a lot of fun.
You should. It will show you.
We do. I don't like our past stuff mostly, but I like that one.
That's a good one. It'll show you the Twister is a legitimate cultural phenomenon. There is a very strong, active fan base, though you may not know it because they aren't massive, perhaps, but they're very vocal. It's beloved, and so I'm expecting this movie to be a smash hit. I don't think it's gonna hit Top Gun Maverick level heights, but I do think it's gonna be that same kind of nostalgic burst for a classic Hollywood blockbuster that they just don't make anymore. Mm-hmm. Glenn Powell's so hot right now. People seem to like him. Mm-hmm. Daisy Edgar-Jones, she's also great.
Yes.
I think it's gonna be great, and the new trailer looks fun. What do you guys think from what you've seen?
David, I haven't seen the new trailer, but I'm echo most of the things that you said. I think it's going to be a fun blockbuster movie, and I think it's one that you should probably experience in a theater. I hope it delivers. You know, it could undersell and flop, but I hope that it really leans into sound and bringing you into the chaos of a Twister.
Yeah, Dolby, and you would think like big IMAX screens would be. I don't know if they are, but I would assume they'd go for it. Frankly, this most recent trailer, it looks dumb, but it looks entertaining. Like it looks like it's gonna be a good time with fun characters or fun actors in fun roles. But also, I'm looking at it, I'm just like they're gonna do what now? What are they trying to do? They're gonna try to launch. I think they're trying to launch little robots into a tornado and see if they can use tiny robots to break up the tornado. And then Josh and I and some of the other people in our Discord had a interesting conversation about the brief display that you get in the trailer of a local Oklahoma weatherman covering the storm, and the reality versus the fiction of just that brief 2 seconds in the frame of, or those brief 2 seconds of the trailer of just like this guy gets a map. It real
bad.
We've learned it's a real station, KAUT, out near Oklahoma City. I think they work with K4 now. I could be wrong. But we kind of had some fun with that. We've said this many times before. We all have a history in news, and so we've all covered some severe weather events in the past. So there's going to be a little bit of difficulty hanging up the glasses, as it are, or the goggles through which I normally view this kind of stuff. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I have high hopes that it'll overperform in much of the same way as a Top Gun Maverick. Maybe not to that extent, because I think you need someone. I think you probably do need someone like a Tom Cruise to do that. But we'll see.
All right, and speaking of, how is the box office looking this weekend? I believe another series of disappointing headlines have hit.
Yeah, it's true.
They love to disappoint us.
It's true, and I'm gonna go the opposite direction a little bit in terms of headlines you may be seeing. The top 5 this week was Challengers, which we just talked about, with $2.9 million. It's in its 4th week and has brought in $43 million total so far. The Fall Guy dropped to number 4 from the number 2 spot this week with $8.4 million. It's at 62.9 as well. We've talked about in the past it's sort of being a bit under the level that people were hoping for the first movie of the summer. Strangers Chapter 1 brought in $12 million in its opening week. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes actually, in my opinion, had a pretty decent opening last week and is doing well. Like, it's already made... Kingdom opened to $58 million last week. It's brought in 26 this week. It's already brought in $130 million overseas. So there's a very good chance that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, that sequel will happen, because if it makes probably between 350 and 400 million, then that's probably, I assume it's going to break even on its budget. But after that, you have the number one movie of the weekend is If, which brought in roughly $35 million. And again, it's all about these projections that you see with like Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, or whoever. Apparently, the studio expectation was roughly $40 million. It brings in just under that with around 35. So it's a little disappointing for what they want, but this is the type of movie I could see having a run. Someone in the Hollywood Reporter also said this, an Elemental style run where, if you remember a year ago, we were talking about, man, Elemental, terrible opening weekend for a Pixar movie, but it turned out like $400 million by the end of its run. Yep. So If could have that. Yep. It seems to be testing well with audiences. But yeah, your top movie of the weekend, $35 million. So we've yet to have sort of the big film of the summer so far. Maybe that'll be Furiosa next week, but we'll have to wait and see.
Give us a boost.
Josh, I talked to you about the idea of these disappointing opening weekends. And
yep.
The funny thing is that with the exception of 2020, there has been at least one movie that has opened to more than $100 million since 2004. Since 2004. The last year that didn't have a $100 million opener was 2003. I think that's right. Yeah, The Matrix Reloaded.
And as we all know, all movie theaters died after 2003.
Well, that's the thing is,
so it means Jack did crap.
It stormed back, and the funny thing is, even that year was The Matrix Reloaded, opened in 91 million. So that's a big open, even back then. Once Spider-Man, because that was when it happened. Once Spider-Man in 2002 shattered the ceiling of the $100 million opening, it became very common, and we even had 8 movies do it in 2022. But so far, we haven't had any this year. So I don't think there's like, a lot of people are getting very alarmist. They're getting very doomsday, like the theater is dying. I don't think that's happening. But at the same time, you do want to see, you want the summer movie season to do well. And thus far, we haven't really hit those highs that we've seen in the past.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up this portion of the show. We want to make sure that you guys don't miss out on any new episodes, new movie reviews. So be sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, So Many Sequels, and you can also subscribe in your favorite podcasting app if you would rather listen that way. One great thing about YouTube is you can listen to the podcast in the YouTube Music app because it's on YouTube. So that's kind of nice. I learned recently. I'm not a big YouTube person, but I'm finding out that is a cool benefit. But yeah, anywhere you get podcasts, you can find us there. Be sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever else might accept reviews. That always helps us out. And we will see you guys next time.